So NSE Nifty is consolidating right now, and this is a very nice consolidation. So basically, let me just look into this one. So basically, we have 21 EMA and then 50 DMA below this one. So there is a very strong support close to say 24,000 levels, and 23,994 is a very strong 50 DMA support, and then 24,067. So eventually it crossed above 21 EMA and 50 DMA and went up, and it's trying to make a VCP 3T contraction, right? So it's kind of a rare formation. Like if we see amongst stocks, that it's very common. But when it comes to indices, right? So it's a nice VCP 3T contraction with a contraction on the left hand side like this one. And then we have a contraction on the right hand side like this one. And then we have a nice contraction on the right hand side. So basically, the contraction or the last 3T contraction that we are seeing on the right hand side, there is a strong support below that, and 23,994 would be a strong 50 DMA support. Now, I'll show you one more thing. So basically, if we start from day one is the point of inflection wherein we know that, okay, it's kind of undercut. And after day four, when we have the fall through day, then the day one is already established, right? When we know that it's already done and dusted. We look into the VAP, right? Weighted average price, and the level that we see right now is 24,020 on the right hand side in kind of orange, sorry, it's brown. So 24,020, which like this is an accumulation of everything. I mean, the VAP is at 24,020, 50 DMA is around 23,994, 21 EMA is around 24,067. So if we take a round off, right? So taking a round off, it shows us that 24,000 would act as a very strong support. So whenever Nifty tries to come as close to 24,000, then there might be a potential opportunity that buying might emerge, right? That is point number one. Point number two, the same thing would be mimicked by, say, the ETFs or Bs, right? So those guys would follow the same movement or momentum, and that is where we can see the same moves happening. And I'll draw one more thing. Say if I take this high, right, 26,373. Let me check the all-time high. Yeah, all-time high is 26,373. So I'll draw the weighted average price or the VAP uh, from this level, right? So if we look at this level and we see this brown line, so I'll just have to delete this line. I'll just move this one, okay? So this brown line that we see, right, this is the VAP. So the good thing that we are saying, right, it is kind of a bit advanced as compared to your moving averages. So basically, the market moved in one go and took the resistance exactly at VAP, and then it retraced down, right? So there is a small gap in here, but again, exactly around the highs. So 24,513, which is the VAP level, would be a resistance zone. Now, imagine in your mind what I showed to you right now. One is from the bottom. Okay, I'll just draw again. So 24,020, this is the downside support that we have. And from the all-time high, as I showed you, so basically 24,513. So this narrow zone of 500 rupees, right? So this is a very narrow zone consolidation, and right now is the time to decide or to take an action. Okay, either ways. Okay, if Nifty breaks below 24,020 or lump sum to say any breakdown on a weekly basis, if it happens below 24,000, it would be a bad scenario. Okay, that is number one. But that's highly unlikely based on the setups and everything that is happening across the globe and everything, whatever that we discussed. Number two is resistance above this one, right? So this resistance is 24,513. So if Nifty breaks above this one, so it would lead to two things. One, it would lead to breakout above this high of this third contraction, and also a breakout of this high of this one. Okay. If that thing happens, then it leads to again hitting 200 EMA and in turn hitting the gap, right? There is a gap of 150 points that we know in here that is pending during the decline that we have seen. So it has the opportunity to do two things in one go. One, cross and close above 200 DMA. Number two, close the gap. Okay. Then whatever happens, like it consolidates on the right hand side, forms a handle, or keeps going up and breaks all time high. We don't know what would happen, right? But right now, the risk reward is very favorable in a scenario that on the downside we have a 24,000 support as a round level plus the VAP support as well as 50 DMA. Everything is lined up, right? Lastly, you can see this yellow thing at the bottom, this thing that I am showing, right? So this is the launch pad. So launch pad means whenever the market or any stock per se is consolidating, okay? When it is consolidating and it's kind of the moving averages coming together. So the first sign is moving averages should come together and then it should squeeze, right? When you have a rope, right? Rope is a combination of threads and like that. So when you just wind around threads, then you create a rope. So assume that these moving averages are kind of threads, and then you are creating a rope, and this is launch pad. And after this thing is done, then either side breakout happens, right? So that is the scenario. But probability I've already attached, like 70% probability is there that the breakout might happen on the upside. And the last point is the volume. You see the volume on the right hand side. So the further the market moves on the right hand side, the further the volume might reduce and it might lead to a volume contraction. So if the price is also contracting, the volume is also contracting, and eventually the more number of these like yellow bars that you see, the better it is, right? And finally, if the breakout happens with higher volume, that will lead to the scenarios that we have already discussed, right? So I'll just move this line over like this one, yeah. This is the major support zone which was there for a long time. Now it is acting as a resistance zone. So, yeah, resistance zone. And this line was spanning across all these levels, right? Whenever Nifty came around this level of 24,500, it just moved up like 3, 4, 5% in one go. Okay, ultimately that was the scenario. So point number 4 is it is the case of a scenario wherein the prior support has become a resistance right now, but we'll have to wait and see how long it would be. And finally, if we see all these levels, right? If we see these levels from say July 2024, so the market has gone nowhere in last 2 years, is what I am seeing. Okay, so if you just look into the charts, so we are still there where we were in July 24, and market has already made highs right from this point to this point. That is fine. That is perfectly fine. But a good trending market is actually like what you see in Nasdaq and elsewhere, right? So those guys just keep moving up and makes like new all-time high and like that. So still we are waiting, but again, this is a nice consolidation, and everything is kind of aligned, is what I am seeing, and there's an opportunity ultimately. Okay. So second one is mid cap. Again, mid cap is kind of extended. So Nifty is kind of the weakest segment right now, and you can see that mid cap is kind of a very nice spot. It's in a very nice spot, but ultimately there's a gap, right? The gap is it's nice that mid cap is moving in a single unidirectional manner with supports on short-term moving averages. That's fine, okay. But ultimately, for a good rally to happen, we need to have this 50 DMA going up, 200 DMA golden crossover to happen. And then the rally, if it continues, it would be very nice. For example, 10 DMA, 21 EMA, 50 DMA, all trending upwards, right? But it would take time, is what I assume as of now, because it's kind of extended. And whenever any consolidation happens around 200 DMA, that would be an opportunity, okay, ultimately. So mid cap is kind of the strongest segment right now. The sweetest one, which we can see, we have analyzed this for quite a long time, and we can see that between small caps and mid cap, and as well as Nifty, like best one is mid cap. Next, we have the small cap segment. Again, this is for the multiple time. Yeah. So last week was a very good week for the small cap segment. I mean, 4.6% move. It is a very wide candle as compared to the prior ones. Again, my assumption was that it should consolidate very close to 200 DMA. It's not doing that. I mean, that's kind of a FOMO or the chase that is happening in the market right now with respect to small cap stocks. But again, it was consolidating very nicely around the 200 DMA. But suddenly, in last 4 days, it kind of moved up, right? But the scenario is for a V-shaped rally that has happened. If any consolidation that happens around 200 DMA and a golden crossover to happen, that would be a very good scenario ultimately. Okay. In terms of risk reward and opportunity, right? I would attach higher opportunity, or the rate of return might be higher in case of small caps. Reason being, it has been consolidating exactly similar to Nifty, obviously, but the stocks below the market, which are small cap stocks, have declined more than 50, 60, 70, even 80% in last 2 years. Okay. So last 2 years is not exactly similar to what we have seen between, say, 2018 Jan peak to 2020 March decline of COVID. It's not exactly same, but similar. Okay. So the probability of the return maximization is say higher in small cap, but only after say it has consolidated for quite some. It should consolidate for some time on the right hand side. And finally, the strength is nice, but ultimately it is far away from the highs, right? So the high is somewhere close to say this one, 55.25, or say this one, 54.7. Okay. So right now it's kind of forming the next leg, right? This one. So we'll have to see and wait and see where it just takes the resistance and then consolidates. Okay. Ultimately, that would happen. That's given because not everything runs in one go, so we'll have to wait and see ultimately. Okay. So I'll conclude section one with the thing like Nifty is giving a very nice construction right now. It's very, very nice. Everything is aligned and it's very constructive in a narrow zone. Small caps are kind of moving in one go. I don't know. There might be FOMO right now that people might see that, okay, they might have missed the rally from the bottom and stuff. So, okay, let's lap at any point of time. That's perfectly fine. Okay. But for a constructive pattern to form, it has to consolidate ultimately around 200 DMAs, and 50 DMA has to go up and everything. So a lot of technical things has to happen, right? So we'll have to wait and see in case of small cap. Same goes for mid cap eventually. Okay.